You can run for pleasure, or you can run like Forrest
Are
Gump.
you doing this for the homeless?
Are you running for women's rights?
Or for the environment?
Or for animals? Why are you doing this?
But when you run regularly, you eventually begin to see running as a form of training. Aloha sportsmen! And today we're going to talk about different types of running workouts. There are a lot of categorizations, and some divided into 15 or even 17 workout types. I don't know if there's a list of 100 types of runs, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is one. However, since we're talking about running for beginners, we need to make it as easy as 1, 2, 3. So, in this video, we'll speak about 3 types of running workouts. The main difference between them is the level of intensity, and what we mean by that is basically your pace and your speed during your run. So yeah, speed is kilometers or miles per hour, and pace is how many minutes you take to run a kilometer or a mile. For instance, when I run on a treadmill, my average pace is about 6 minutes per kilometer. That's, of course, when I run my slow runs. So this is my individual slow pace, but when I need to run at a specific pace on a treadmill, I usually set a speed, which is about 10 kilometers per hour. That's my slow pace here. These values represent the same. A speed of 10 kilometers per hour equals a pace of 6 minutes per kilometer. I mostly run by pace, and I measure my speed only when I want to know how fast I am running. The reason we say there are 3 types of running is actually because each type affects your body in a different way. Slow running is your main type of running. That should be your starting point as a beginner, and most important, it should be done right. And I learned it the hard way. I made a lot of newbie mistakes when I was starting because I had this idea that I should run in a certain way, you know? So I would run much faster than I should have done, and my workouts would turn into a mess of interval runs. I would start slow and finish at a crazy pace, so I would speed up in the middle of a workout and then would slow back down again, which would affect the quality of my workouts. As a beginner, you can run at a pace of 7 minutes per kilometer or 8 minutes per kilometer, or you can even alternate running and walking if you want to. That's totally fine. When you run slow, at a lower heart rate, your heart, which is a muscle just like any other muscle in your body, your heart contracts with the maximum force and stretches the most, which makes it better prepared to handle longer and higher intensity workouts. And as we know, that's what any part of a runner's body should be capable of. If you're just starting out, I'd recommend that you run at a slow pace all the time. The second type of run is a tempo running, or running at a higher pace. My tempo pace, for instance, is between 4 minutes 20 seconds and 3 minutes 50 seconds per kilometer, and I usually run at this pace for 10 to 15 kilometers. For this type of runs, it's crucial that you keep a certain heart rate as well as pace, so I'd recommend that you have some device to monitor your heart rate and therefore the quality of your workouts. Generally speaking, the whole point of tempo training is to prepare your body for running at higher speeds, and this training also helps to develop your speed endurance. For beginners, I'd recommend that your tempo runs should last from 10 or 15 up to 30 minutes, no more. In the beginning, the most important thing for you is to maintain the same pace throughout the whole workout. If your pace is, say, 5 minutes per kilometer, that's how you should run for the whole 30 minutes. Don't speed up or slow down. You don't want to run at 4 minutes per kilometer pace only to realize at some point that it's too hard for you and shift to a pace of 6 minutes per kilometer and then shift to a different pace yet again. And the third type is Interval running, which is basically a combination of the first two types. You alternate between short bursts of fast running and periods of running at a slow pace or brisk walking. You set a certain number of high-intensity segments. Put simply, you run hard for a certain time or distance, and between these segments you recover by either running slow or walking. For example, you can sprint for 1 minute and then slowly jog or walk for another minute, and you repeat the sequence for 10 cycles. During these fast-paced segments, athletes generally run at a very high intensity, even faster than their usual tempo run pace. And the most important thing is that you should maintain the same fast pace throughout all of these high-intensity segments. You should also keep in mind, and it's really important, that the last segment must be done at the same pace as the first one. On your journey from an amateur runner to a pro, you're going to go through all these three types of training. Obviously, there are many variations in each type that professional athletes introduce to their training routine, but all these, variations are based on these three basic types. As for me, I do these three types of training as part of my workout routine, and about 75–80% of the workout time, I run at a low intensity, slow pace, and at a lower heart rate. And if we're talking about athletes who run 60 or 100 meter sprints, their training programs include much more than just running. They do a lot of strength training, among other things, but that's a whole other story. And in this video, we are only talking about amateur runners and middle and long distance running. Speaking about running frequency, to beginners I'd recommend that you run at least 3 times a week if you really want to improve. However, if you take some time off, say a week or two, then you kind of get yourself onto a descending escalator. You're standing still, but at the same time you are slowly going down. Well, you know what I mean. If you've never run before, I'd recommend sticking exclusively to slow running for the first 1 to 3 months. So, no matter how often and how much you run, you do it at a slow pace. Of course, after some time, you can introduce tempo and interval running to your routine. But remember that these runs should amount to no more than 20% of your running workouts. So, if you run, for instance, 3 times a week, I'd recommend that you do a tempo or interval training every 4th workout. And one more important tip for novice runners: don't forget to warm up before and cool down after every tempo or interval run. 5 to 10 minutes of easy running will do the job. Besides running itself, there are also some specific strength building exercises, and we have a video on them, so please make sure to check it out.